The Miami Hurricanes over under win total of 9.5. They, of course, opened the season with Alabama in Atlanta on the first weekend of the season. You get Florida State as your annual crossover. You've also got NC State, that game coming at home. Other non-conference, App State, Michigan State, Central Connecticut State, the juggernaut. But really, that non-con, especially that Alabama, App State, Michigan State, pretty tough. Win total here at William Hill set at 9.5. Let's say, Bud, what about you?
I'm playing under here. I'm playing under on both of these top teams. I don't love the 9.5. Just based on my numbers here, I see them very unlikely to beat Alabama. That's probably not, really a surprise. The juice here is also significant, much like it was with the UNC bet. I mean, you have to lay minus $1.50 to go under, but I see this more as a 9-win team than I do a 10-win team. I'm fairly confident Derek King gets back and is healthy. I have a little bit less confidence that the defensive ends will have the same impact that last year's guys did, and I don't have a lot of confidence in the receiving core. And the better teams that Miami played, they just manned them up on the outside and said, "All right, what you gonna do?" Against Clemson, they didn't really have an answer. Against UNC, they really didn't have an answer. And this is a bit of a tricky schedule, right? I don't see them losing to Central Connecticut or Duke, but Michigan State is a pretty near certain win. So is Virginia, but they're not like locks where Miami's going to be favored by 24 plus.
Your numbers didn't have Michigan State beating Michigan and Northwestern last year.
Sure,
like this Michigan State team could be a wild card.
Yeah, so I'm comfortable going under here. It would not shock me at all if we get UNC push Miami under, but I just want no part of these two overs, because then if you say that, you're betting these like teams that you think can make the playoff and maybe could win a playoff game. I think if you really want to bet, I just don't see these teams as quite that quality.
Don't you think that's don't you think they're playoff isn't the right term though when you're talking about these? Don't you think they're division winner going to make it to the ACC conference championship game, but they don't have a chance against Clemson, but they both dodge Clemson. So they could still be 10-win, 11-win teams and just come up massively short against Clemson.
I think the division winner is 6-2 in the league.
So that's just a rating of both Miami and North Carolina.
Yeah.
You think they both got 2 ACC losses, and that's going to easily take you with the Alabama and the Notre Dame non-cons on the unders for both of these.
Yeah, this is not one that I'm slamming down, no doubt you have to go bet this. I definitely bet UNC under.
Bud's lock of the century, Miami under 9.5.
Is anybody going over?
By the way, that would be so ACC coastal if you would be a 6-2 or worse.
Yeah, 5-3.
It usually is.
Yeah, the 5-3 Georgia Tech team that shows up in the ACC championship game and puts a scare in Florida State.
And I think that was my favorite thing because they released the media poll for the ACC this morning, and good old Coastal. While it's heavier on North Carolina than you typically see in any other year, at least we've got that whole 6 of the 7 teams receiving a first place vote.
Yes.
Whoever had Georgia Tech should be fired.
But apparently the in-house media vote in this poll too, the people that do the media for the team.
Okay.
So
that's how somebody has NC State winning the ACC.
The entire ACC. Yeah. No. And Jeff Collins definitely had somebody in his office go and place first place votes for Georgia Tech. I'm ditto, by the way. I'm also on this under. I know it'd be a big price delay, but too many question marks for me. And there is a very base level assumption that we take with all Manny Diaz defenses, but they lost some really, really good players off that group last year. So I think Bubba Bolden's one of the best safeties in the ACC, but they need some players to step up. Good players who have potential, but I would need to see it first before I feel really confident. Is anybody going over? Or go ahead.
No, I'm on the under as well. I think that this is, it's a combination of timing too, because that non-conference is not, for what we typically see. Yeah, obviously Central Connecticut's in there, but that game is normally the one that breaks up the difficult non-conference games. That's following them. So going with Alabama in the opener, which barring a miracle is almost an absolute loss.
But it would be hilarious.
It would be hilarious. App State, they should win pretty comfortably, but you never know. App State's a very good, G5 team, good Sun Belt team. Maybe something crazy happens. Michigan State, as you mentioned, Chip, kind of a chaos agent last year. They're also a solid Big Ten team. I can't just write them off. I think that Miami wins that game 65% of the time, but they're still at 35%. They've got North Carolina on the road. It's off a bye, which helps, but still, that's a difficult game.
And UNC has some good corners, by the way. Like they can do to Miami what Clemson did to Miami.
Mm-hmm. Pitt on the road will be a difficult game. FSU on the road will be a difficult game. And also, we don't really know the status of Derek King early in the season. So when they're playing that like more difficult non-conference schedule of Alabama, App State, Michigan State, King might not be 100%. He might not even be playing in those games. And I think that's one of those kind of wild card factors that we have to consider too. So I'm leaning the under here. Not like a solid, not like a solid lock, but I think 9-3 is probably where this Miami team finishes.